Good morning, students. Today I will continue the electromagnetic induction part, basically the next part. In the previous two videos I have completed what you mean by electromagnetic induction, what is the Faraday's first law, second law, magnetic flux and all these things. Okay, so today I will start from the definition of the induced current and induced charge. Okay, so let us start. So first I will discuss what do you mean by induced current. If in a coil, in turns is there and the magnetic flux and rate of change of first let the magnetic flux be phi b, then the rate of change of magnetic flux can be written as del v by del t, right? Then the induced EMF in the circuit is, according to the Faraday's law, what we can say? We can say that is equal to basically E. So this is the amount of induced EMF according to the Faraday's law, right? Now, if the coil be closed and the total resistance of the circuit be R, then the induced current is, according to the Ohm's law, that is I equal to E by R. So if we put the value of E here, so what we are getting? We are getting N by R. This we are getting. Clear? So therefore this equation is indicating that the induced current in the circuit completely depends upon the resistance. Okay, and whereas induced EMF is independent, but E, this is the induced EMF. Induced EMF is independent of the resistance of the circuit, but when we say about the induced current, then for that induced current I, it is depends on the resistance of the circuit. Okay, now the thing is that you may say that ma'am, you have written here minus, then why there is no minus? Basically, according to the Faraday's law, we have derived the Lenz's law, that is whatever the induced EMF is there, it wants to reduce the current which is producing it, right? So therefore the negative sign was there, but for the calculation of the current we always takes the mod value. Okay, so therefore I have not written the minus. Hopefully it is clear to all. Now coming to the induced charge. Same thing. What do you mean, how you can define the charge? If Q is the amount of charge, then it is given as I into del T. Basically, charge is given as amount of current flowing through the circuit in the time interval of del T. Already the expression of I we all know, that is basically N by R into change of the magnetic flux with the time interval del T into del T. So del T will be cancelled out. So the equation becomes N into change of magnetic flux by R. Please be careful here, the change in only the change of magnetic flux is considered, not that the rate of change in magnetic flux, that is the time is being cancelled out here. Okay. Now what will be the unit? Basically, if we substitute the del B in Weber and R in Ohm and Q will be Coulomb, so the equation will becomes unit will becomes Weber by Ohm, right? Now this equation shows that the induced charge does not depend on the time interval, as the time is being cancelled out. So the induced charge does not depend on the time interval. Whether the change in magnetic flux be rapid or slow, the charge in the circuit will remain the same. So from the induced current or the induced EMF, two factors are coming out, right? Initially, according to the Faraday's law, we have said that the induced EMF E does not depend on the resistance of the circuit. But later we have said that seen that the induced current depends on the resistance of the circuit, right? Initially, in general, for the circuit, the charge is dependent of the time of the current flowing through that circuit, right? But here we have seen that for the induced charge, there is no dependency of the time or the rate of change in the electromagnetic flux, right? It depends on the change of the magnetic flux, but not on the rate of change in the magnetic flux. Hopefully it is clear to all. Okay. So next I will discuss the motional EMF. For the motional EMF, let us consider a long rod JK. Okay, and thin it is conducting rod JK, and it has a length L, and it is situated in an uniform magnetic field B perpendicular to the plane of paper. Okay, make it cross. So these cross sides are stating that it is the magnetic field B. Okay, clear? Suppose the rod is moved in the plane of paper perpendicular to its own axis with a constant velocity v towards right. Clear? Now we know that there are always some free electrons in a conductor. Clear? The atoms from which these electrons are detached have excess positive charge. It is quite that is when any elements release the electron, then it always becomes a positively charged. It is quite known to us, right? So therefore only the negative charge can move within the conductors. With the conducting rod moving with the velocity v, these positive and negative charge also moves in the magnetic field B towards the right along with the rod, right? So we have read that when a charge Q moves in the magnetic field B with the velocity v and perpendicular to the field, it is acted upon by a magnetic force Fm. A magnetic force due to that's why Fm I have denoted magnetic force. Okay. So and the magnetic force, what is the magnitude of this magnetic force? That is QVB, right? And this force has a specific name, that is Lorentz force. It is Lorentz force, and its direction is always perpendicular to V, and V has a direction perpendicular to B. Therefore, this force is acting mutually perpendicular to V and B. Okay. Now, according to the Fleming's left-hand rule, the force Fm on the positive charge will be directed towards the J, and that of the negative charge towards the K. Clear? since only the electrons are free to move within the rod, as I have considered it as a conductor, therefore we can say that they starts moving towards the end of K of the rod. As the positive charge are fixed, so they will in general, according to the theory, it has to move towards the J, but as these positive charges are not free, therefore the negative charge and the negative charge is free, therefore the negative charge starts to flow towards K. Clear? Thus there becomes a deficiency of the electrons near the J and near the end J of the rod, and this end becomes positively charged. Okay, so as all the electrons starts to move towards K, therefore there will be the accumulation of the positive charge, and this part becomes positively charged. Simultaneously, as at the site of K, all the negative charge being accumulated, so therefore this part or this end becomes negative and this end becomes positive, right? And therefore as within this rod a potential difference will produce or induced as positive and negative charges is there. So therefore as the potential difference is there, so an electric field E will be there, and what will be the magnitude of this electric field? The magnitude of this electric field is defined as V by L. It will be basically V by L. Okay. The direction of this E is from J to K, as positive to negative always it flows. So the direction of this electric field will positive to negative, and this field E imposes an electric force Fe. So for this E, another electric force Fe will be there, which will be imposed on the charge Q within the rod, and whose magnitude will be Q into E, right? Now the direction of this Fe on the positive charge will be towards K, and on the negative part it will be towards J. Thus the direction of this electric force Fe on each charge is opposite to that of the magnitude of Fm. Clear? So as more and more electron reaches at the end of the K, the magnitude of the electric force Fe goes on increasing until it equals to Fm. Clear? Now the resultant force on each charge in the rod becomes 0, and the movement of the electron towards K stops. In this condition, what we can say? So for this condition, Fe equal to basically Fm, right? So what is the value of Fe? That is nothing but Qe. And what is the value of Fm? That is nothing but Qv. Q will cancel out. Therefore, E is related to V into B, right? So this is basically, if we can compare the equation, this one E equals to V by L, and here also we are getting E equals to Vb. If we compare these two equations, what we are getting? We are getting that, please be careful, this is the small v and this is the capital V. This is potential and this is velocity. So capital V will be basically B small v L, right? Comparing these two equations. Okay, so this V is denoted as the motional EMF. Why it is called the motional EMF? Because it is producing due to the motion of an electric conducting rod towards if this electric rod is being present in a magnetic field, right? Therefore, it is called the motional EMF. Okay. Now, what will be the unit of this motional EMF? As that is B. B will be basically Weber per meter square. V is meter per second and L will be in meter. So, V will be in volt. Okay. Clear? Hopefully, it is clear to all. Now, some examples related to this motional EMF. If the axle of the wheel of a train running on rails cut the flux line of the vertical component of the Earth's magnetic field, and so a potential difference is induced between the ends of the axle, the potential difference across the wings of an aeroplane flying horizontally at a definite height is also developed due to the cutting of the flux line of the vertical component of the Earth's magnetic field. If, however, the aeroplane is landing down and its wings are in the east-west direction, then the wings cut the flux line of the horizontal components of the Earth's magnetic field, and again potential difference is induced. If while landing the wings of the aeroplane are in the north-south direction, no flux line due to any component of the Earth's magnetic field are cut and no potential difference is induced. Okay. Now, if a conducting rod pointing east-west is dropped down freely, it cuts the flux line of the horizontal component of the Earth's magnetic field. Hence, a potential difference is induced across the ends of the rod. If the same rod is pointing north-south, then on dropping it down freely, it will not cut any flux line and no potential difference will be induced. Okay, so these are the some examples corresponding to the motional EMF. Okay, so in the next part, I will continue with the explanation of the Faraday's law or explanation of the induction, electromagnetic induction in terms of the Lorentz force. Okay, thank you.